What is up, guys? My name is Miller and welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to be ranking pseudo legendary Pokemon from worst to best. Without further ado, let's get this video started. Before I start this video, I just want to make one thing clear for those who do not know what a pseudo legendary Pokemon is. A pseudo legendary Pokemon is basically a fan term and has a base stat total of 600, is in the low experience group, and has a 3-stage evolution. Now, in this video, I'm going to be ranking all of the evolutionary lines all together, because I feel like if I did them individually, it would just make this video too long. So I'll be counting all of them together, and I'll also not be including megas for this video. So, now, without further ado, let's hit it. Let's do this. Alright, starting off with Dragonite. Now, Dragonite was first introduced in Generation 1, and was one of the first pseudo-legendaries to be ever introduced in Pokemon. Now, I don't really have a lot of sentimental attachment. I did use Dragonite, and it has a pretty simple design overall. Overall, I think its design is pretty solid, and I did use it, so I do have some attachment to it. Its design is pretty cool. Base stat is, of course, 600, which is basically the same for all the Pokemon that I will be talking about in this video. So, I think I'm going to put Dragonite in the B tier. I like Dragonite, but I'm not a big fan of Dragonite, so I think the B tier is perfect for Dragonite. Next up is Tyranitar. Now, Tyranitar was the second pseudo-legendary to be introduced, and it's pretty dang strong. Now, its typing, though, is very bad, Dark, and Rock is not a very good defensive typing. But despite its terrible typing, it has actually seen a lot of success in competitive Pokemon, and it does have a pretty solid and appreciable, respectable design. Now, as for my personal opinion, Tyranitar, I've never really used it in a playthrough. But it does have a really interesting design, I will say, and I believe in the anime, Ash owned well, he technically didn't own it. He did found a Larvitar and did raise it for a couple of episodes, and then, of course, it did go back to its mother. Overall, Tyranitar is a really solid Pokemon, really sick design, by the way. Never been really a big Tyranitar guy, but he does have a pretty respectable design. Of course, base stat is 600 once again. Typing is not the best, as I said, but it does have a pretty respectable design, and that's all I really have to say about Tyranitar. But I would love to use Tyranitar. If I ever get the chance, I'm definitely going to use Tyranitar in a playthrough, because I think it's really strong, and it's seen some really good usage, especially in competitive Pokemon. Now, I am going to put Tyranitar in the B tier. I'm going to put him in front of Dragonite, because I do like Tyranitar a little bit more than Dragonite. Alright, next up is Generation 3. Now, Generation 3 is the first, currently only generation to introduce 2 pseudo-legendaries. And let's talk about these pseudo-legendaries, starting with Salamence. Now, Salamence is not one of my favorite pseudo-legendary Pokemon, which may come as a surprise, because I'm pretty sure most of you guys that are watching this video, at least one of you like Salamence, but I'm not really one of those guys. Now, for those who don't know, Generation 3 was the first generation that I played. It was my favorite. However, despite this, Salamence has never really been one of my favorite Pokemon. Not even my favorite pseudo-legendary Pokemon. I do think that, I feel like its legs designs are just a little bit weird. I know it's supposed to be based on a salamander, but I feel like its design could have been a little bit better, and its mega design, though I know it's kind of off topic here, but its mega design is just dumb. And like, whenever people ask me to name the pseudo-legend of Hoenn, I always say Metagross. I never say Salamence. Of course, this does not mean Salamence is a bad Pokemon. It's a really strong Pokemon, of course, and it's pretty cool looking. But I've just never been a personal big fan of Salamence. So that's why I'm going to put Salamence in the C tier. I know some fans are probably mad at me, but this is my video. This is my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments below, how would you rate these pseudo-legendaries? But yeah, I'm going to put Salamence in the C tier. Alright, next up is Metagross. Now, Metagross is, of course, the second pseudo-legendary introduced in Generation 3. Now, like Salamence, I actually love Metagross. Its design is really cool. Plus, it's one of the only pseudo-legendaries, and currently is the only pseudo-legendary, in fact, to not be a Dragon type, which I really hope that we get to see more of in the future, because Dragon types are cool, but sometimes switching things up can be very good. But back to Metagross. Metagross has a really interesting design, very interesting typing, and prior to Generation 6, it was actually a really strong Pokemon, because it only had 2 weaknesses, fire and ground. But of course, after Generation 6, it was nerfed, as still no longer resistant Ghost and Dark, meaning it now has 4 weaknesses. Even with that, I still love Metagross, and I have used it. It's really fun to use, and that's why I'm going to put Metagross in the A tier. Moving on to Generation 4, we have Garchomp. Garchomp is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Not only my favorite pseudo-legendary Pokemon, but my second favorite Pokemon of all time, of course, behind Blaziken. Now, Garchomp has a really cool design, and when it was introduced, it was actually banned in competitive Pokemon because of how busted its ability Sand Veil was. And of course, it's also has a really cool, very intimidating design. It's probably one of the most iconic champion ace Pokemon, of course, being the ace of Cynthia in the Platinum, in all of the Sinnoh games, should I say. And it's just such a sick Pokemon. I've used it, and I loved every. I had a Garchomp named Hades back when I played Platinum, and it was so fun to use. I loved using Garchomp. Its shiny, of course, is infamous for being one of the garbage and most dumbest shinies. But besides that, Garchomp is a really interesting Pokemon. I love using it. And that's why I'm going to put Garchomp in the S tier. Moving along to Generation 5, we have Hydreigon. Now, Hydreigon is one of the most interesting, very interesting design, I would like to say. Now, Hydreigon was introduced, of course, in Generation 5, and it has the very interesting, very sick Dark Dragon typing. And it was actually a pretty big menace. It's an absolute special tank monster. It can do a lot of damage. Now, unfortunately, of course, when Generation 6 did come, the Dragon type was nerfed. And I think that among all the pseudo-legendaries, Hydreigon just ended up getting the shortest stick, as its Dark and Dragon typing made it meaning it made it double weakness to Fairy. So it had a 4 times weakness to Fairy, which sucked AF. So, yeah. It really killed off its usefulness and its powerfulness with that 4 times Fairy weakness, but personally, I've never really been a big fan of Hydra. I think it looks cool. Its design, of course, is based on a Hydra, which is cool. Never used one, never had an experience. I think I'm going to put it in the C tier. I'm not really a big fan of Hydreigon. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. So, yeah, the C tier is where Hydreigon is going. Next up is Goodra. Now, Goodra was introduced in Generation 6 in the Kalos games X and Y. Now, since I'm doing Goodra, I might as well do Hisuian Goodra. Hisuian Goodra was... excuse me. Hisuian Goodra was actually introduced in Legends Arceus, and it's the regional form of Goodra. Now, there isn't really much difference to both of them. The only difference is their typing and maybe a little bit of their stats. But personally, I'm not really a big fan of Goodra. I feel like it looks too cute, and it doesn't really look like a pseudo-legendary, like, personally. So, that's why I'm going to put normal Goodra in the D tier, and I'm going to put Hisuian Goodra in the C tier. Mainly because I like Hisuian Goodra's typing a little bit more. So, yeah, I don't really have much to say about Goodra. Alright, moving on to Generation 7. Generation 7, we were introduced to Kamo. Now, Kamo, I believe, was the first dragon fighting Pokemon. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. Now, Kamo was really not a very, I would say, memorable pseudo-legendary. It's got a solid design. Typing, cool, of course, but it has the same issue as Hydreigon. There's a 4 times weakness to Fairy, which is, of course, very bad. But, of course, it did have its own Z move and even its signature move, I believe. But personally, I've never really been a big fan of Kamo, so I'm going to put it in the C tier. And plus, it's very, very ugly. Sorry, Kamo, but that's just the harsh truth. Alright, Generation 9, we have Dragapult. Now, Dragapult was introduced in Generation 8. As I said, it was introduced in Sword and Shield. And personally, I've never really been a big fan of Dragapult. I think it looks cool. I don't hate it. It's basically a jet plane. It kind of reminds me of Garchomp. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I love Dragapult. I don't know, but it has a really interesting design. Like, it uses its old offspring as projectiles, which is interesting. Plus, Leon's in the anime was pretty cool. Its battle against Ash's Dragonade was a masterpiece. As I said, I never played Generation 8, so I don't really have a lot of sentimental attachment to it, but I do respect it. I do like Dragon Ball, so I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Not a Pokemon I hate, but I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Dragon Balls. And finally, to finish off our list, we have the most recent pseudo-legendary Baxcalibur. Now, Baxcalibur was introduced in Generation 9 and is an Ice Dragon type, which is pretty interesting. Now, I've never played Generation 9, so I don't really have a lot of sentimental attachment to it, but I do like Baxcalibur. Its typing is pretty cool. Its design is overall pretty simple, in my opinion. It's pretty cool, though, but I feel like his head just is kind of naked. I feel like it kind of needs a little bit more design. But that's pretty much the only gripe I have about Baxcalibur. I think it's pretty cool. The name is also pretty cool. So I think I'm going to put... excuse me. So I'm going to put Baxcalibur in the A tier. Really cool Pokemon. Big fan of him. So, yeah. And yeah, that is pretty much it for this video of ranking all the pseudo-legendaries from worst to best. Now, let me know in the comments below who is your favorite pseudo-legendary, and also comment down below your ranking of these pseudo-legendaries. Now, that is going to be for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and once again, thank you for watching this video. And make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you later, alligators.